Hi, my name is Elizabeth and welcome to my DIY channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to make a jewelry organizer out of an old frame. And if this is your first time visiting my channel, this is about my 15th informational video. So it's safe to say that it's kind of a habit now. So if you would please go to my channel's page and hit that subscribe button. In order to get started with this project, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a frame that's empty, no mirror, no glass, no picture inside of it, some sandpaper. Then you're going to need some aluminum sheet, and I will explain to you later what this is and where you can get it. A power drill, paint with paintbrush, a hot glue gun, a sawtooth hanger to hang the jewelry organizer from at the very end, and little 1-inch gold hooks. And the reason why I got gold hooks is because I bought gold aluminum sheet, and you can get both in silver. It just depends on what kind of color scheme you want. And that's it. Once you have all the supplies together, this project shouldn't take longer than about half a day, mostly because of the dry time for the paint. It's a quick project, super easy. And to get started, I'm going to put this sawtooth hanger on the back of this frame because it did not have any kind of hanging device. Next I'm going to paint the frame, and I'm actually going to use two different colors of paint. Because after we're done painting, I'm going to sand it down to make it look a little rustic. And so I suggest that you use two colors that are related to one another. If you're going to use two colors of paint, you don't have to. That's just what I like to do. So this one is brown, and this one is burgundy. And so this brown underneath of this burgundy, when I sand it, it's going to give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more dimension. So before you get started painting, just be sure that you've cleaned your frame thoroughly and you're ready to add some color. So you just want to give it one light coat of the dark color, and then later, once this dries, we'll give it a light coat of the other color. Of course, if you're using just one color of paint, 2 light coats will be just fine. And I'm not making these coats very solid because actually once I'm done sanding it, I do kind of want the original color of the frame to peek through. I do want this gold color to kind of come through. So once this is dry, I'm going to paint the back as well, the same color, and then you'll see me paint the rest of it with this burgundy color. With the paint completely dry, I'm going to sand down through the layers of paint down to the original gold paint, maybe even all the way down to the wood of the frame, just to make it look a little distressed and a little rustic. And you just have to sand very, very lightly. It doesn't take much to begin revealing the paint underneath. The last step in getting this frame prepared is to seal it because you don't want the paint to chip while it's in use. So I forgot to say this when I was showing you all the things you would need for this project, but you will need some kind of sealing agent, and I'm using enamel gloss because it's really cheap, it's very easy to manipulate, and it dries very quickly. But you can use any kind of clear coat sealer like shellac or something like that. And just give it one very thin coat, and then we'll be ready to put the wire mesh in the back and the hooks on the bottom, and we're almost done. So now moving on to the metal sheet that will be inside the frame where you hang your earrings off of. And you can find this at any home improvement store. I got this at the Home Depot, and this is actually a 3 by 3 foot sheet, and it costs about $32. And I know that sounds expensive, but a 2 by 1 foot sheet only costs $10. I got a big sheet like this because I'm going to be making several of these organizers. And then you can easily cut it with utility scissors. I wouldn't use paper scissors. I'd use like those big kitchen scissors, you know. And before you cut into it, before you measure and cut into it, it does have this thick band here on the edge to keep sharp edges from cutting your finger. I would cut that thick band off first, because if you include this in your frame, you'll have one edge that has this solid band while the rest of it has this cloverleaf pattern, and it'll look a little weird. So cut this off first, then measure, and then cut out what you need. My frame happens to be 13 by 10 inches, so that's what I'm going to cut out. Okay, now that we have the metal sheet in place in the frame, we're going to hot glue it along the edges to get it to stay in place. And before you glue, just make sure that along your edges that the clover leaf or whatever design that you have in your metal sheet is really well aligned, evenly aligned with the straight edge of the frame, because if it is just a little bit askew, it'll look a little bizarre. It'll look askew once you're done gluing and you hang it up, and you'll notice that it's a little off. So before you glue, just make sure that you are going to glue it with all of the straight edge design lined up with the straight edge of the frame. And then little by little, just glue the edges of the metal sheet to the frame and hold it down. Hot glue dries pretty quickly, so just hold it down so that there aren't some areas that are popping up while others are lying down. So I'm going to hold it into place until the hot glue has mostly dried, and then I continue on. Now I'm going to show you how to go about adding the small gold hooks into the bottom of the frame. And first of all, I'm going to cover the bottom of the frame with painter's tape, because we're going to have to mark with a pen or a pencil some measurements. And this way, even if we mark it wrong, it doesn't matter because it's covered in painter's tape. So let's measure what we have, and we've got 12.5 inches. And personally, I like my my little gold hooks to be at least 1.5 inches away from one another. And I like them to kind of start about where the edge of the inner frame comes to the end there. And that's about 1.25 inches. So I'm going to mark 1.25 there, 1.25 here. Those two marks will be for the two end hooks. Then measure out the distance between the two marks, evenly spacing out room for the rest of the hooks. Once again, I like mine to be at least 1.5 inches apart. But you can space yours out depending on how much room you have and how many hooks you'd like to use. And always double check your measurements. So the golden hook from its center extends out about 1/2 inch. And I want to make sure that I go back at least 1/2 inch here so that the hook doesn't extend beyond here, so it's not way up here and the hook hanging out above the line of the frame. Kind of want it to set back here and kind of be flush with this line here when it is hanging vertically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure about 1/2 inch back from the top, from each of my lines that I've already marked. And that's actually where I'm going to pre-drill for the hook. So I've got my drill here, got my drill bit that's slightly smaller than the screw is round on these hooks. And I'm just going to pre-drill very, very short holes into the bottom of this frame through the tape, because that won't make any difference. Just make sure that you don't drill too far, because you could end up drilling a hole up here because this frame is at a diagonal. So Now we can remove the tape. I like to go back over them one more time, make them a little bit more open. Now we're ready for the hooks. Unfortunately, these hooks aren't exactly uniform, so you have to make sure that some aren't longer than the others. That one is. And that some aren't bent or warped. Those look good. And I fashioned a pair of pliers here with some painter's tape so that when I turn it with the pliers, the metal of the pliers won't scratch the gold coating off of these hooks. Now, just to verify that they're all hanging straight down, that one isn't hanging lower than another one. If they are a little crooked, these are really malleable. You can kind of correct them with the pliers, make sure they're hanging a little bit straighter and uniform with the rest of them. So I'd say this one is finished and ready to hang up and put to good use. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, and once again, please subscribe to my channel. You'll be able to find this guy along with other jewelry organizers, as long as they last, in my Etsy store at RoughDraftDIY.etsy.com, and you can follow my other projects on Instagram at RoughDraftDIY. And I'm gonna go now because I'm sure you're just as sick as I am of hearing that car alarm. I think I should go defend it. I think that's the right thing to do. Anyway, I'll see you next time with another video.